All right, so are you ready to get a little street smart today?
Yeah.
Maybe you're listening to this deep dive because you love to travel the world, or maybe you live in a busy city, or hey, maybe you're just like me and kind of fascinated by, the darker side of human
The
behavior.
psychology of it all, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's fascinating.
So today we're going to unpack the world of street scams.
Ooh.
Those clever tricks that are designed to basically separate you from your hard-earned cash and valuables.
It's amazing how often these scams, they prey on our best instincts,
Mhm.
like our willingness to help, or even just, our distraction when we're in a busy environment.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is that we actually have a really cool guide to common street scams
Okay,
that
cool.
we're going to be looking at today. But I think more importantly, it also digs into why these scams work in the first place.
Yeah, the psychology behind it.
The psychology, yeah.
Why do we fall for it and how do we avoid it?
Totally. And that's the key, right? I mean, knowledge is power, especially in these situations.
Yes, 100%.
So let's kick things off with a classic, everybody. I'm sure we've all been there, the dreaded pickpocket.
Oh, yeah.
I bet we've all had that moment of panic in a crowded place,
Yeah.
where you're like, wait a second, where's my wallet?
Oh my gosh, yes. And you just start patting yourself down.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's the worst feeling.
The worst.
Yeah. So let's talk about pickpockets. I mean, these guys are masters of distraction.
Yes, they are masters of distraction. They're masters of misdirection. They might bump into you accidentally, or they might use a jacket or a newspaper as cover while they're doing their work with their hands. And they often work in teams too. One person will distract you while the other one swoops in.
Oh, wow. So it's like a whole coordinated...
It's like a choreographed dance.
Yeah, it's like a choreographed dance of deception.
It really is.
Wow. I had no idea. So what are some things that we can do to protect ourselves? Because I feel like it's so easy to just get caught up in that moment.
Sure. So one of the best things you can do is try to disrupt their game plan. Try to keep your valuables in your front pockets.
Oh,
Use anti-theft bags. Those are really good.
that makes a lot of sense because I feel like I always keep my wallet in my back pocket.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
And that's just like an easy target.
Yeah, or even in a purse that's, slung over your shoulder or something.
Exactly.
But yeah, those subtle strategies can really help.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about those helpful strangers who might not actually have your best interests at heart,
Ooh.
right? So the guide actually calls these the fake helpers, and they often kind of lurk near ATMs or ticket machines, and they kind of wait for you to seem confused so they can jump in and, lend a helping hand.
Yeah, that helpfulness is a smokescreen, right? While you're distracted, they're either stealing your belongings or they're observing you enter your PIN code,
That is so sneaky.
Yeah.
It's crazy how they exploit those moments when our guard is down, when we're just trying to figure things out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we think we're getting help.
Well, and it happens more often than you think.
Well,
People are really good at capitalizing on our kind of automatic responses to these seemingly harmless situations.
it's like we're not even thinking.
Right.
We're just like, oh, someone's helping me.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so speaking of seemingly harmless,
Yeah.
let's talk about the friendship bracelet scam.
Oh, this is a good one.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
This one really plays on social pressure.
Yeah.
So imagine you're strolling through a market,
Right.
having a good time, and all of a sudden someone approaches you
With a big smile.
with a big smile. They're
Right.
super friendly, and they offer you a free friendship bracelet.
Hey, I've got a gift for you.
Right.
Yeah.
But before you can even react, they tie it on your wrist,
Oh, yeah.
and then suddenly they're demanding payment.
And you're trapped.
It's like, what?
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
I didn't agree to this.
exactly.
It's amazing how fast they work, though. The speed with which they can create a sense of obligation is incredible, and they might even block your path
Oh, wow.
or cause a scene to make you feel really uncomfortable and more likely to just pay up and escape the situation.
Oh, gosh. So it's like a guilt trip
It is.
disguised as a gift?
Exactly, the guilt trip disguised as a gift.
Ugh, that's the worst.
Yeah.
So how do we avoid this? Because I feel like this would be a tough one. You want to be nice.
You do. You want to be nice, but you have to trust your gut.
Okay.
If something feels off, it probably is.
Okay.
And you always have the right to say no.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you don't have to be pressured.
Okay, so let's talk about a scam that kind of tugs at our heartstrings a little bit.
Okay.
The fake charity collector.
Oh, man. This is a tough one.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to be generous.
Mhm.
You see someone who's collecting for a charity, you're like, oh, I want to help.
Yeah.
But on a busy street, it can be so tough to tell who's genuine and who's an imposter.
Absolutely. And they often use fake IDs or uniforms,
Yeah.
and their stories can be very, very convincing. They might play on your emotions. They use these high-pressure tactics to guilt you into donating.
Oh, gosh. It's like you can't win.
I know, right?
So what do we do?
So one of the best things you can do is just ask for more information.
Okay.
You can ask for their charity registration details.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, or even just say, hey, you know what? I'd love to donate, but I prefer to do it online later.
Well, that's a good one.
Just to buy yourself some time
Yeah.
to think critically and make sure that you're not falling prey to emotional manipulation.
Yeah, that's a really good tone.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up, let's talk about a scam that's all about sleight of hand and just like pure deception. The infamous shell game.
Oh, the classic.
The classic, right?
Yeah, you've probably seen it on a street corner somewhere, right?
Exactly. Like a street performer, with like 3 cups or shells, and they're moving them around super fast.
So fast. And they're like, can you guess where the ball is?
Right. And you're thinking like, oh, this seems so simple. Like, I got this.
This is easy money.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the trap.
Right.
The apparent simplicity is what gets you every time.
So how does it work?
Well, what makes the shell game so deceptive is that they use shills.
Shills.
Yes, shills. So shills are basically accomplices who pretend to be regular players.
Oh, wow.
And they pretend to win.
Wow.
Right? So you think, oh, if they can win, I can win too. But the game is rigged from the start.
So it's like the classic too good to be true.
Exactly. 100%.
Scenario.
Yeah. And it really highlights how our desire for like an easy win
totally
can override our critical thinking.
Oh, yeah, because you're like, oh, I see that guy winning.
Right.
Like, I could do that, too.
I can totally do that. Give me in. I'm in.
Oh, man. So sneaky.
I know.
Okay, so let's move on to a scam that I feel like exploits our sense of fairness, the found ring trick.
Oh, yeah. This one's good.
So picture this, right? You're walking down the street.
Just minding your own business.
Exactly. And someone points to this, like, shiny ring on the ground. And they're like, oh my gosh, I think I just found this.
What is that?
Right. And they offer it to you like they're being so incredibly generous.
And
but then,
but then...
yeah, there's always a catch.
There's always a catch.
What happens?
Well, they might demand a finder's fee.
Oh.
So they turn their supposed good deed into like a financial transaction.
Wow. So they're like, oh, I found this ring. I'm going to give it to you, but you got to give me some money.
Exactly.
Wow.
Or they'll try to sell it to you claiming it's like way more valuable than it actually is.
Oh, my God.
It's crazy how they manage to turn your kindness into a profit for them.
That's terrible. Hate that.
It's a textbook case of emotional manipulation,
Yeah.
They're playing on your sense of obligation and your potential desire for a good deal.
It's so true. And it's so easy to fall for that, like, you want to believe that someone's being genuinely nice.
Yeah. And you want to be helpful,
Right.
You want to be the good guy.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, there are people out there who take advantage of that.
That's so true. It's funny you were just saying that this happens to people. And this actually happened to a friend of mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she was walking down the street and someone approached her and they had this found necklace.
Oh, I just found this.
Yeah. And, she was really flattered that they offered it to her.
Right.
But she had this like nagging feeling that something just wasn't right.
Yeah.
So she politely declined.
Good for her.
And later she found out that it was like a common scam in that area.
Oh, wow. See, that's good that she trusted her gut.
It's such a good reminder that even the most cautious among us can just get caught off guard.
Yeah, you can never be too careful.
That's so true. Okay, so next up, we're going to tackle a scam that exploits our respect for authority figures. The fake police officer scam.
Ooh, this is a scary one.
I know. This is like the one that I'm always kind of afraid of, because imagine you're just walking down the street and someone in a uniform stops you.
And you're like, oh no, what did I do?
Exactly. And they're like, you've broken a law or you're carrying counterfeit money or something like that.
Right. You're instantly like, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble.
It's so intimidating.
It's very intimidating. And that's what they prey on.
Yeah, that fear of like getting in trouble.
Exactly. That fear of authority.
Exactly. So what are some things that these fake police officers might do?
Well, they might demand to inspect your wallet or your passport.
Oh.
And of course, that creates an opportunity for them to, steal your cash or your documents.
So sneaky.
Yeah.
So what should we do if we get stopped by someone who claims to be a police officer? How do we know if they're legit or not?
That's the key question, right?
Yeah.
So the most important thing is to always ask for identification.
Okay.
Real police officers will always have ID, and they'll be happy to show it to you.
Okay.
And if you're unsure at all,
Yeah,
don't hesitate to contact the local police station directly.
that's a really good point.
Yeah, verify their
Well,
legitimacy.
So if you're ever unsure, it's always better to just err on the side of caution.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, so let's shift our focus to a scam that combines surprise and distraction. The spill scam.
Oh, this one's good.
This one's a classic, right? So picture this. You're walking down the street and someone bumps into you.
Oops.
Right. And they accidentally spill a drink or food all over you.
And you're like, oh my gosh.
It's like the worst.
Yeah.
So what happens next?
Well, it's all about creating chaos, right?
Yeah.
Throwing you off guard. So while you're like dealing with the mess and trying to like clean yourself off,
Right.
they or an accomplice will take advantage of that distraction and lift your wallet, your phone, anything that's within reach.
Oh my gosh, that is so smart
Yeah.
and so sneaky.
I know, it's like using your good manners against you.
Exactly. Because you're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And they're
Oh.
like, oh, no, it's okay.
Right, and then you're distracted.
And then they're taking your stuff.
Exactly.
So is there anything we can do to avoid this? Or like, what's the best way to handle that situation?
Well, the best thing you can do is if someone spills on you, the first thing you should do is to step back,
Okay.
take a breath, assess the situation,
Okay.
and secure your belongings.
Before you even worry about cleaning up.
Exactly. You protect yourself first.
Okay, that's a really good tip.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
all about maintaining awareness, even in those like unexpected situations.
Yes. 100%.
Okay, speaking of unexpected situations, let's talk about taxi scams.
Yeah.
You know those tricks that some drivers use to overcharge unsuspecting passengers?
Oh, yeah. This is especially common in tourist areas
Oh, totally.
where people might not be familiar with the local fares or the routes.
Right, exactly.
Right. So drivers might take longer routes, or they might tamper with the meter,
Oh, God.
or they might even like invent charges,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, no.
for luggage or for like special destinations.
That's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Because you're just trying to get from point A to point B.
Right. And you don't know any better.
Exactly.
Right.
So what's the best way to protect ourselves from these taxi scams?
So if possible, use reputable ride-hailing apps,
Yeah.
like Uber or
Yeah.
Lyft.
Yeah.
Those are much safer because everything's tracked.
That makes sense.
And if you have to take a taxi,
Yeah.
confirm the fare and the route
Oh,
beforehand.
that's a good idea.
Yeah. And another good tip is to have small bills and local currency on hand
Oh, that's smart.
because it helps you avoid those I don't have change situations.
Oh, yeah, that's so true. Because then they're like, oh, well, you owe me this much, but I don't have change for a, whatever bill.
Right. Exactly.
That's so annoying.
It's frustrating.
Okay, last but not least, let's talk about a scam that preys on our empathy and compassion, the sob story scam.
Oh, yeah. This one gets to you.
I know this one really like tugs at the heartstrings.
Yeah.
So picture this, someone approaches you.
Looking all downtrodden.
Yeah, exactly. And they got this like really sad story.
Oh, I lost my wallet. That
Uh-uh.
missed my train.
They need money for an emergency. They've got all these like really elaborate stories.
They're very good storytellers. They've honed their craft.
And it's so easy to just feel bad for them and want to help.
Of course it is.
Right.
You want to be a good person.
Exactly.
You want to help someone in need.
So what do we do if we encounter someone with a sob story?
Yeah.
Like, how do we know if it's genuine or not?
This is another one where you really have to trust your gut.
Okay.
If something feels off, it probably is.
Okay.
And, you're under no obligation to give them money.
Okay.
But you can offer alternative forms of help,
Oh, okay. So like what kind of alternative help?
Well, instead of giving them cash, you could offer to buy them food
Oh, okay.
or buy them a ticket directly.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, because that way, your generosity is being used for its intended purpose.
Right, exactly. And you're not like contributing to a potential scam.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to understanding street scams.
Absolutely. There's a whole world of scams out there.
Oh, I know. And I feel like they're getting more and more sophisticated.
Oh, yeah, they're getting really good.
So are you ready to dive even deeper into the psychology behind these tricks of the trade?
I am. I'm ready to go deeper. Welcome back. You ready to go deeper?
I am.
All right.
Let's do it.
So, we've been talking about all these different scams, and I can't help but notice how many of them really just exploit basic human psychology.
Well, totally. It's like they've read a psychology textbook or something.
Well, in a way they have,
Right.
Let's break down some of these principles that are at play here.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
So we talked about distraction,
Right.
which is a key element in pickpocketing the spill scam.
Yeah, so many of them.
So many of them, right. So why is distraction so effective?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like such a simple tactic,
It is.
but it works so well.
Well, it all comes down to cognitive overload.
Yeah.
When we're overwhelmed or confused or we're like hyper-focused on something specific,
Right.
our brains have a much harder time processing everything else that's going on around us.
So it's not just that we're not paying attention.
Right,
It's
yeah.
that our brains are like overloaded
It
with
gets you-
information.
And that's what scammers capitalize on, right?
Why?
They create these situations that trigger those automatic responses.
So it's like we're operating on autopilot
Basic.
and they're pulling the string.
Exactly. They know exactly how to push our buttons.
That is so crazy.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, so we've also talked about social pressure. Especially with that friendship bracelet scam
Oh, yeah.
where they create that instant sense of obligation and make it like super awkward to say no.
Yeah, they make you feel trapped, so you
Yeah.
can't get out of it.
It really made me think about how much we like rely on social norms.
Absolutely.
It's almost like we're programmed to be nice.
Yeah, we want to reciprocate kindness. We don't want to, cause a scene.
Right.
We don't want to rock the boat.
And the scammers know that.
Oh, they know it. They exploit it.
Yeah, they use it against us.
Absolutely. They know that most people would rather pay up, even a small amount
Yeah.
than, risk a confrontation or, seem rude.
It's like they've hacked our social programming.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so I'm also curious about those scams that play on our desire for easy wins or amazing deals,
Oh, yeah.
like the shell game or the found ring scam.
Yeah. Why do we fall for that?
What's going on there psychologically?
Well, it taps into a really fundamental human drive,
Okay,
We are wired to seek rewards and minimize effort.
makes sense?
Right. We want the easy way out. We
Totally.
want the quick win. And scammers understand this. And they create these scenarios that play on our innate optimism and our desire for these quick gains.
It's like that saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
sometimes that little voice of reason gets drowned out by the allure of a potential windfall.
That's so true.
Right.
It's like, oh, I could make so much money.
Easy money.
So easily.
Right.
Yeah. So it sounds like knowing these psychological tricks is super important
Absolutely.
for staying safe. But what are some practical steps that we can take
Sure.
to minimize our risk of becoming a target?
Well, first and foremost, awareness is paramount,
Okay.
Pay attention to your surroundings, especially in crowded areas or tourist spots,
Okay.
Keep your valuables secure.
Right.
Use anti-theft bags.
Yeah.
Don't display large amounts of cash,
Don't make yourself an easy target.
Exactly. Don't make yourself a target.
Okay. So those are all really good tips.
Yeah.
But even the most vigilant among us can get caught off guard.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happens if you find yourself in a scam situation?
Yeah. What do you do?
What's the best course of action?
In most cases, the safest approach is just to walk away.
Okay.
Calmly disengage, Don't give them what they want. Don't engage in a confrontation because that can just escalate the situation.
Okay, that's a really good point. Walk away.
Walk away.
Okay, what if you can't walk away safely or if you've already been victimized?
Well, if that happens, the best thing to do is to report it to the local authorities
Yeah.
or the tourist police as soon as possible.
Okay.
They might be able to intervene or prevent others from falling victim to the same scam.
That's so true. I think a lot of people feel embarrassed
Yeah.
or foolish
Of course.
after falling for a scam,
Right.
and they don't want to report it.
Yeah, they feel ashamed.
But it's so important to report it.
It is. It really can make a difference.
It can help other people.
Absolutely. And, it's not your fault if you fall victim to a scam.
That's a good point.
These individuals are professionals, They're
Right?
good at what they do.
They're masters of manipulation and deception.
Exactly. So don't beat yourself up about it.
Yeah.
The key is to learn from the experience and just continue to be vigilant in the future.
Okay, so speaking of learning,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really fascinated by this idea that, street scams might actually reflect broader societal trends
Oh, that's interesting.
or vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's important to consider the context, in which these scams thrive.
Right.
Like, why are they so prevalent in certain areas?
Right.
What makes some individuals more susceptible to these tactics?
Like, for example, a lot of scams seem to target tourists.
Oh, absolutely. Tourists are often perceived as easy targets.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, they might be unfamiliar with the local area, the customs, the language.
Right. They don't know the lay of the land.
Exactly. They might also be carrying more cash and valuables,
Right.
which makes them more attractive to scammers.
It's like they're walking targets.
Kinda, yeah. It's a little harsh, but there's some truth to it.
Right.
So that's why it's so important for travelers to do their research, you know? Stay informed about common scams and take precautions to protect themselves.
So be a savvy traveler.
Exactly, be a savvy traveler.
Okay, now what about socioeconomic factors?
Oh, yeah.
Do these scams tend to target specific populations?
You know, it's a complex issue, but poverty, inequality, lack of opportunity.
Yeah.
These things can create environments where scams become more prevalent,
Wow.
both as a means of survival
Oh, wow.
and because individuals in these desperate situations might be more vulnerable to these tactics.
It's like a vicious cycle.
It is.
Yeah, those who are already struggling are more likely to be targeted,
Right.
which further perpetuates their hardship.
Exactly. And it highlights the need to address these root causes, you know? We need to work towards a more just and equitable society
Yeah.
where individuals aren't driven to such desperate measures.
Yeah. So while we've equipped our listener with, some practical tips for staying safe,
Right.
it's also important to acknowledge these broader societal factors
Absolutely.
that are contributing to the
Right.
problem.
Yes, it's not just about individual responsibility.
Right.
It's about creating a world where these scams
Yeah.
have less fertile ground to grow.
I love that analogy.
Right.
Okay, so we've unpacked a lot in this part of our deep dive.
We have.
Are you ready to wrap things up?
I am. I think it's time for some final thoughts, some key takeaways.
All right, so welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the world of street scams.
It's been quite a journey.
I know. It's crazy how many scams are out there.
So many.
But the good news is we've learned a lot about how to protect ourselves.
We have. We've gotten street smart.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So let's do a quick recap of some of the key takeaways.
Okay, sounds good.
So first and foremost, awareness is your best defense.
Absolutely.
Being present, paying attention to your surroundings, especially in those crowded places or when you're traveling, in unfamiliar territory.
Yeah, keep your head on a swivel.
Exactly.
Know what's going on around you.
And trust your gut. When
Yeah.
something feels off.
Always trust your gut.
It probably is.
Yeah, don't be afraid to just walk away from a situation that makes you uncomfortable.
Okay, so another big one, securing your valuables.
Yes.
Simple things like using anti-theft bags, keeping your wallet and phone in your front pockets, not flashing a lot of cash.
Right.
Those things can make a big difference.
Yeah, it's all about not making yourself an easy target.
Right, exactly.
You know, they're looking for easy opportunities.
Yeah, make them work for it.
Exactly.
Okay, and we also talked about the importance of being assertive.
Oh, yes.
Don't be afraid to say no.
Yes, say no.
To those unsolicited offers, whether it's a free gift or someone offering to help you at an ATM or a sob story,
Right.
you have the right to say no.
You are in control.
Okay, so what if you do find yourself in a scam situation? What's the best way to react in that moment?
If possible, just walk away. Calmly disengage.
Oh.
Don't let them draw you into their game.
Don't engage.
Confrontation can just escalate things unnecessarily.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And if you've been victimized, report it to the authorities immediately.
Absolutely, as soon as possible.
And cancel any stolen credit cards or IDs right away.
Yes, good point. Very important.
So it's really important to remember that even if you do fall for a scam, it doesn't mean that you're gullible or foolish.
No, not at all.
These people are professionals.
They do this for a living.
They know how to manipulate people.
Right. They're experts at deception.
Yeah, it's not your fault.
So don't beat yourself up about it.
So they're really good at playing on, our basic human instincts.
Right. Our trust, our helpfulness.
Yeah, our desire for connection.
Right.
And it's like, we want to be good people.
Of course.
We want to trust others.
Exactly.
But we also need to be aware of the potential risks.
Yes, it's about finding that balance
Finding that balance.
between being open and compassionate,
Yeah.
but also being discerning and aware.
So stay informed, stay vigilant,
Yes.
but don't let these scams turn you into a cynic.
Exactly. Because there are a lot of good people out there too. Just keep those spidey senses tingling.
I love that. So knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
The more we understand about these scams, the better equipped we are to protect ourselves.
100%.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this fascinating journey into the world of street smarts.
My pleasure. It's been fun.
Yeah, and hopefully you learned some valuable tips and insights that you can use to navigate the world safely and confidently.
Stay safe out there, everyone.
Until next time, stay street smart.